Okay, back at it. Here we have a question that's a little bit more complicated. So we're going to need to find our unit rate, and then we're going to need to do something with it. So we're going to use some logic here to get started. First of all, Mr. Wheeler drove 178 kilometers on 16 liters of gas. At this rate, how far could he drive on 20 liters? So the key here is, again, an assumption that we've got a specified rate. So the first thing that we need to do is find out what that unit rate was for Mr. Wheeler before we can apply it to our supposed new numbers. So first off, we identify that Mr. Wheeler drove 178 on 16 liters of gas. So our unit rate would look like 178 km on 16 liters. So I want to find out the unit rate for that. I would do the exact same thing that I've done with every other one. I would put my 178 over top of my 16. I want to turn that second term into a 1, so I divide by 16 here, and I'll have to divide by 16 here. This 16 divided by 16 is going to yield me 1. If I go over to my calculator, 178 divided by 16 equals 11.125. Now this is fairly specific and that decimal is not super long, so I'm actually going to keep that whole decimal there. 11.125. So what I know then is that Mr. Wheeler's vehicle is getting 11.125 km per 1 liter. Okay, so now that I know that, I can go back to my question and take the thing I didn't really know how I was going to figure out and try and figure it out. So how far could he go on 20 liters? Well, now I know what my unit rate is per 1 liter. It's really quite simple. All I have to do, go back to my fractiony device here, and I'm going to go 11.125 over top of 1, and I want to do the reverse of this first question, the reverse. And the reverse of division is, of course, multiplication. So I want to find out what 20 liters would give me. So I turn that bottom one, or that second term, into a 20 by multiplying it by 20. I do the same thing to the top. Go back to my calculator, 11.125 times 20 equals 222.5. So I have found out that Mr. Wheeler could go 222.5 km on 20 liters. So I've solved my question. To be certain that I've done everything that my potentially picky teacher might want, I would say that Mr. Wheeler could travel 222.5 kilometers on 20 liters of gas. So initially this question looked really kind of confusing and a little bit challenging, but when we break down what we know first and then work our way through the problem, it gets quite a bit easier. What you really have to remember is that problems are like puzzles. They're things to be solved. There's no way to say that in every situation you do this or this. It has to be something that you look at critically, split that information up, find out what you know, and then solve it. Once you've solved it neatly and in an ordered manner, you're going to be almost every time you're going to be right on the mark, and you're going to be able to say, this is how I got the answer, or this is the answer, with a lot more certainty. More importantly, perhaps, if you make an error and your information is nicely laid out, we can go back and see where that problem is as opposed to having to start from the very top. So don't forget to check out those links I've given you to other people that are solving rate problems in video format. And also, if you want to get some extra questions in, hop into your textbook and just select a few from the question set. Or if you really want to, you could try the unit test at the end of the chapter.